Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're going to show you how to replace the rear factory JBL subwoofer in this 2007 Toyota Avalon. Now in this install we're going to show you how to remove that factory sub, we'll show you the sub replacement and how to get it wired up to your factory amplifier. Let's get started. Now, before we jump into things, obviously here this install is only really going to apply to the JBL trim level, as the non-JBL simply has the 4 corner factory speakers run off the factory radio. There's no amplifier, there's not going to be a sub in the rear deck, but if you want to add an amplifier and subwoofer, we can certainly recommend those parts in the description for your non-JBL trim. Alright, here in the car you obviously see we have the reclining rear seats. We're going to do our very best not removing those rear seats because it's a lot of labor to pull all this apart. So we're going to keep those in place as much as possible to get to this rear deck subwoofer. So I'm going to go ahead and push these all the way back, recline them fully. We're going to go and pull out our weather stripping here, up and out of the way. And basically this rear lower panel does need to move a hair. Doesn't have to come out because it's a layered approach, because the C-pillar panel needs to come out of the way, and that's going to give us the access to pull out the rear deck. So what we're going to do is just unsnap it here. You can literally see the snaps. It relieves the snaps from clips, just like that. It's going to unsnap just like that. We're going to repeat that process on the driver's side. Now for this panel here, we have to be careful. It does have an airbag back here. If you are nervous working around an airbag, it's always a great idea to remove the negative off the battery. Just a good practice. This has some clips back here, and it has more so a tab up front. It's really not too difficult to get up and out of the way. I have some various panel trim tools. We use one of these a lot. What we're going to do to get started is we're going to start popping that open. There's going to be 3 or 4 clips in this vicinity. We want to unsnap them all. Okay, so that one move actually got them all. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull towards us, kind of wiggle, just like that. So I count 3 clips, 1, 2, 3, and then we have a main tab here up front. Some of them may stay in the panel. I use our panel tool to pop them out. We'll repeat the same for the driver's side. So with our C-pillar panels removed, next let's remove the top of the headrest. Kind of lift them up. So we get a little pin to push in to release them. Open these up here, make sure they're not clipped in. And the rest of the panel should just be held in with clips. And what we're going to do is just try to unsnap the top of this bezel. Now as you lift this up, you'll see there's these little pedestals that stick out which hold in the clips. There's 4 of them, and that's really it. The rest, as you can see, the rest of the panel should be able to slide right out. Now I'm going to move our little seat belt out of the way. Now before we yank on it, there's a harness to disconnect on this side. This is going to be for your brake light. Now that's going to give us access to our factory subwoofer. Alright, so with the rear panel out of the way, this gives us a great viewpoint from the back window of our rear deck. Now, depending on the trim level of your Avalon, the top higher trims may have an electric window shade that folds up. If you have that may be in the way of your factory sub. It's simply removed with 2 10mm bolts on each side and a main harness here in the center. But if you do, it may have to come out of the way in order to get full access to the subwoofer. We don't have it today. Simply, our sub is held in with 4 10mm bolts. Once the sub's out, we're going to have one harness connected to it. Alright, once your 4 bolts are removed, go ahead and disconnect your harness, and the sub should lift right on out. Alright, so here at the bench we have our factory OEM subwoofer and our replacement here. Now before we talk about this new kicker speaker, let's go ahead and look at our factory speaker so we know what we're dealing with. Factory sub generally mounts in 4 locations here, and it has 1 set of speaker leads. If we flip this on over, you can see it's a single voice coil, and this coil is a 2 ohm impedance. It's really important for us to keep track of, because if we add just any single voice coil speaker, for example, it's a 4 or 8 ohm, it'll sound significantly quieter than the factory subwoofer did. It's less sensitive. So we want a similar replacement that has final impedance of 2 ohms. So our JBL amplifier will give our new subwoofer as much power as it can handle at that impedance. So the speaker that we're looking to install is this 8-inch dual voice coil 4 ohm subwoofer. Both coils will be wired together in parallel for a final impedance of 2 ohms. So we'll get the most out of the factory JBL amplifier. Now obviously this will be significantly underpowered. That JBL amp's not going to put out 300 watts RMS that this is looking for. So it's a good opportunity down the road when the customer is ready. You can probably go ahead and add its own dedicated amplifier, a 300 watt amp for this guy, to get the best performance out of this kicker sub as possible. Unfortunately, our customer doesn't want to do that. They just want to run this off the factory JBL amp, so this is the best setup for our situation. Regardless, you're going to want some sort of 8-inch subwoofer wired to a final impedance of 2 ohms. So we can list a couple of different options in the description. Now, there's no true harness adapter available, even though this is basically in Metra 72-8104. We can pull this off, so we have a plug-and-play kit. Our speaker itself, also, there's no bracket adapter on the market. You can fabricate one to use these 4 mounting locations, but this actually fits really well in the cutout of the rear deck. We're just going to go ahead and tap and drill and add our own screws all the way around, and then we'll use this harness adapter to feed our new subwoofer the signal it needs from the factory JBL amp. Now here's the harness we removed off the factory subwoofer here. Green's going to be positive, black is our negative. What we're going to do now is add some extra 16 gauge OFC wiring to these, long enough where it can reach our new sub. Alright, so we went ahead and wired up our subwoofer here. It's a dual voice coil, so we want to wire in parallel. This is going to bring the impedance down on the load on the factory amplifier down to 2 ohms to match the factory subwoofer. And so we do that by putting both 4 ohm coils together, and then that'll actually connect into the main harness that we soldered on, and that'll actually connect and feed power to the sub from the factory amp, just like so. So with this done, we're going to add a little bit of high temperature tested tape here just to give the wire a little more protection, but at this point we can head to the car to get everything installed. For our sub, we popped out the retaining clip there, and that's where we pass our wire through for the sub. We made our connection here. We just need a zip tie and make sure it's nice and clean. But that allowed us to move everything through without getting the wire pinched, and that also allows for a quick, easy connection to the new subwoofer installed. Okay, so we got the new sub all in. We got our sound deadening mat all reinstalled here. Now, being an OEM replacement, we're only depending on OEM power, and considering this JBL amp only puts out a few watts to this factory sub, it really doesn't do a whole lot, but it's set up and ready to go for down the road if we add another amplifier to the sub, a dedicated amp just for bass. That would certainly improve the sound quality of the sub and the overall system as a whole. For now, being just an OEM replacement, it's not too bad at this point of time. We've tested everything. It sounds great. Got it all mounted up. Now let's go ahead and get everything reassembled. Alright, so that's about it for this install. We got everything reassembled here, all back together. Now we realized to get those panels to slip back into place, got the main clip on first and then put the little plastic clips in after. That seemed to work a little bit better. Got our headrest back in, and overall, OEM replacement completed. If you have any questions on what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below, and if you want just to bypass the factory sub and add a better amp and sub yourself, we'll link those parts also in the description. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you liked what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe and post great content on the channel all the time. We'll see you in the next video.